Wastelanders, and welcome back to Piston Junction for this 8th and final time trial. By the end of the day, 85 cars and 59 teams will have taken their chance on the Switchback. And while the time trials are not binding and they offer no points, they do let all the prospects see where they stand compared to their competitor. Join us at halftime for an exclusive interview with the IMMORTAN R-LO. But for now, let's get to the races. First up, we have Shoddy for Neckel Racing Team out of Luxembourg. He's driving a Nissan GTR named Überhochspur, which we're told means fast lane. But you can't be in the fast lane if you're actually in the parking lane. That said, it's always good to stop by Rust Belt Customs for a tune-up. It looks like he's doing better this time as he comes around Refinery Row, then around the Dead Man's Curve, and the Temple of Speed, and coming on down into Piston Junction itself. That looks like it's a good time. Oh, and he kisses Arlo, who looks like he was trying to get in on the action. Next up is Neckel driving that number 745 Dodge Challenger called Aufstandische.
Hey Miles, we're getting a message here from the Martian Corporate Council.
What the hell do they want? I'm running a broadcast.
They're saying they have an objection to the name of this vehicle.
What, they don't like German?
Translators are saying it means insurgent or resistance fighter. And, you know, Mars isn't real hot on that.
Well, tell him to take it up with editing because I've got approval. And back to the race, it looks like he gave it too much power around Refinery Row. Let's see how he does in the right lane. The problem with a car like a Dodge Challenger is when you get it on the wide open American roads, its engine can be a bit much to handle. And as we can see here, Neckel doesn't make it down. Our next driver is the Duke of Daytona, Isaac the Maniac, driving his Ford Mustang funny car dragster. It's an unusual choice, but let's see what he can do on the track. I had my doubts, but he's quick on those straightaways. He doesn't seem to be on a record-setting pace, but he's doing a lot better than I expected for that chassis. Let's see how he does in the right-hand lane. I was going to interview him and ask how he got the name The Maniac, but his pit crew waved me off in desperation and fear. He really does have much better control of that funny car than I thought he'd have. And look at him giving the fans a little show as he crosses the line. Next up, we have Rowdy driving Graceland for Uncle Elvis Racing. It looks like a solid car and we have high hopes. Now, despite his name, Rowdy has actually been very hospitable in Piston Junction and hasn't had any altercations. That might be because he's heavily armed. Look at him just chew up that track. That flat-out 442's got quite the power under the hood. And the skill of the driver behind the wheel is apparent. And it looks like right here at the end, he decides to give the crowd a little kick. After all, nothing says I appreciate my fans quite like a bumper to the face.
Boss, maybe we could think like t-shirts. It'd be less expensive.
Now, Steve, you must be bad at math because a t-shirt costs $45 and a dead fan costs us nothing. Looks like he got caught up on the outside wall and that's gonna cost him time. On the last curve, it looks like he tried to dodge a spectator and that put him out of position and it put him on his side.
Boss, Marsec is registering an official complaint with this driver. He has active warrants.
Well, you remind Marsec they work for the Martian Corporate Council, and I have a pardon from the Martian Corporate Council so long as he drives the WMD. And would you look at that? He's driving, and quite adeptly down the switchback. Well, I guess Marsec can hold my microphone. 14.9 isn't top of the field, but he's competitive. Now let's see if Crazy Mike can pick up some time in the second lap. Well, when I asked him what he was driving, he said, well, it's a 49, 50, 51, 52, 53, 54, 55, 56, 57, 59 automobile. I have no idea what to make of that. But Crazy Mike is making his way down the track just fine, but it looks like his time is fairly consistent. Now here is Manchild Motorsports' second driver, Matt McDriver. I can only presume he's adopted. Now you may remember Papa Pugsley scored a 13-1 in his Sirocco. Let's see if Matt McDriver can do any better. He just might, because that little car is tearing up the track. Look at it go. A 1270 is considerably better. Now, these two are from the Midwest, which used to be the breadbasket and is now a barren desert, but it's still making a fine crop of drivers, as we can see here. Oh, but it looks like Matt makes a mistake in not having quite enough speed for Dead Man's Curve. That puts his rear end sliding out from behind him, and now he has to drive in reverse down the entire course. But I'm not certain he has enough speed for that final moment. And oh no, it looks like he doesn't. Welcome back, Wastelanders. I'm your host, Miles Per Hour, and today I'm joined by IMMORTAN R-LO and Imperator K. And the Immortal One has agreed to be interviewed on camera. So here we go. These questions were submitted by the audience, and of course approved by our benevolent overlords, the Martian Corporate Council. IMMORTAN R-LO, you made the trip here from the former state of Connecticut, near the East Coast Metroplex Death Zone. Did you have any complications coming all the way to Piston Junction?
The highways of the wasteland are a white line nightmare. Only those mobile enough to scavenge, brutal enough to pillage, can survive. What does that tell you about me?
That I never ever want to be driving in front of you. Our second question is, you've seen all the other prospects at the Invitational by now. Is there anybody you have your eye on?
Gathered here before you are some of the best builders in the wasteland. They've traveled from afar to prove themselves here at Piston Junction. Many have already proven themselves in the time trials, but have yet to prove themselves in the real trials. The trials by vehicular combat. Who will emerge victorious is uncertain, but whoever it may be, I myself will carry them to the gates of Valhalla.
Well, I'm certain that's a very generous offer. The audience is asking about Imperator K, your silent co-driver. Is she your partner, your queen? Is she your strong right arm? What is she to you?
Oh yes, Imperator K, my queen and most trusted companion. She rides with me now and forever on the highways of Valhalla, eternal, shiny, and chrome. Shall I fail here, she shall avenge me.
All right, that's a great answer, and we have time for one more question. And that final question is, you're known as one of the most respected builders in the wasteland. What advice do you have for the new builder trying to make a name for themselves in these wastelands?
Do not, my friends, become addicted to graphite. It will expire, and you will DNF in its absence.
Well, IMMORTAN R-LO, that was excellent advice I think all builders can use. Thank you for your time, and let's get back to the race. Here we have James Kirk. Normally he'd be driving something else, but since Mars has forbidden spaceflight, here he is in a cab.
Boss, I don't think it's that Jim Kirk.
Huh. Well, get that man a wig and a green woman, because that's an image that can sell. Steve, did you just use unauthorized graphics?
Sir, it would be suicide to use graphics that MarSec hasn't approved of, especially if there were logs showing I had.
There are no logs?
I'm the IT guy, boss.
Right then, carry on. Now look at James Kirk as he brings that car around the track. He can fly starships and he can drive in the wasteland. A 14.57 is a great time. Now, Mog Hog is a driver that gives us some concern with that blood tank of his. High-rise vehicles or vehicles with sharp front plows have not been treated kindly by the Switchback. Let's see how Mog Hog does. See, when that front tire gets up over the curb, there's no coming back. Problem for every tall truck and vehicles with exposed tires. Hopefully he can do better on his second lap in the right lane. Let's see how it goes.
Now the problem with that big front ram is about to be obvious. It's sloped on the underside, which makes it run over the curb easily. And once you get that truck's wheels off the ground, it's all over. Maybe Mog Hog will do better on a crowded track. Now here's a driver from the wastelands of Canada who's no stranger to the Gasland circuit. It's the crazy Canuck. We're not certain what's under Firebolt's hood, but we know it's not a petro engine and it's got a high radiation count. Let's see if all that stolen tech mortar technology can get him down the track. Sure seems like he's right at home on the Switchback, doesn't he? The fastest, but he's certainly got a lot of style. So much so, we're going to show you his ending jump from another angle. A 14:10 time is the kind of time you want if you're trying to stay inside the pack and not become a target. Have to admit, it's quite the canny choice. Why, but it seems like the Canuck's second pass down the Switchback isn't going nearly as well as he'd hoped. Results in a rollover so spectacular we're going to show it to you twice. That's going to buff right out and you're next to the Rust Belt Customs repair trailer. Now the Will sisters will probably have a challenge much like that of Blood Tank with their truck, the Knuckle. But the Knuckle doesn't have that enormous ram plow on the front, so maybe it'll do better. She's pretty solid off the line here, but oh, things go wrong right there in turn 1, where she barely limps through. Maybe the Will sisters can pull it together and get that truck down the track. Nope, that's not gonna work. Yet they keep limping on. The tenacity of these sisters is not to be denied. Oh, and look at that. It's a slow, agonizing grind to a stop right inside Piston Junction. Now, the second round has to be better. Straight off the bat, we can see that she's driving a lot smoother, a lot steadier. She seems to have learned from her mistakes in round 1, and oh no! She loses control right there and grinds to a halt. And this time, Wastelanders, it's more catastrophic as she's fallen directly off the track and into the buildings. We're gonna have to get a tow truck to get her out of there. But let's go to the finish cam and see what we can see from that angle. Here she comes in, and it's the grind, and she falls. It's a tragedy, folks. Here we have Crazy Amy, the last of the Memphis Outlaws, driving her Corvette, Death Note. The Memphis Outlaws haven't made a very good showing, but let's see if she can bring that score up. Smooth and steady off the launch line, she's coming around the refinery with ease and precision. Dead Man's Curve is no problem for her. She comes around the tip with speed, and here's where it all goes wrong. She comes in too low, hits high, and then hits everything else. You gotta feel sorry for the Bellcast sisters. They just got their truck out of the damn hole. Those poor girls. All right, I just heard from trackside officials and the Bellcast sisters are fine and their truck will be repaired. Let's focus back on Crazy Amy and see if she can pull it out of the fire. Here she goes. I'm on the edge of my seat here, folks. Dead Man's Curve is usually where it goes all wrong, and look at that. She's coming down the track backwards, but she's actually got some speed. She might be able to finish. It won't be a great time, but look at that. Tenacity and perseverance. Our final driver today is King Shark, running in Grinner. You may recall last week that he ran once then, but we had technical issues that made his second run have to be run this week. Many other vehicles with front-end modifications are concerned that it will not be able to handle the track. With the way it extends forward, it will catch on the terrain and on the curves before your wheels get to them. But here he is, trying to finish in reverse. Is he gonna make it? Oh, it may not do it. It's such an agonizing moment when he comes almost to the end. On the bridge here, his sword catches on the terrain and spins him around, and he never quite recovers from it. All right, Wastelanders, that's 85 cars and 57 teams. Get ready for the tournament. Brackets will be announced soon. Stay tuned.